translation. Okay. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So inshallah, today we're concluding the discussion on inner jihad. And actually this will conclude the second river. So after this, we're going to start the next river.
Inshallah.
So we've come a long way, actually, alhamdulillah. And then we've covered a lot of interesting things. Might be good at some point to kind of do a recap on everything we've covered so far, and you know, see where we are in this context.
That would be lovely. We can announce it that way, and this way the participants can really have enough time to express themselves and stuff, and maybe we can take guidance as to what the future lessons should be and how should we proceed further. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe next week we should do that. What do you think?
Well, let's see when we finish.
Okay.
We'll get ideas from other people also.
Okay.
And then whatever guidance. Yeah. You see, actually, when you take a topic, it's not essential that we cover all the lines here given by the writer. Take the subject topic, take a couple of lines, couple of letters and words in that, and then expand on them, expand them, and the lesson that is contained should be given, and that should be it. You know, if we cover line by line, sometimes we spend too much time on verbiage and may not have enough time left for the message to be expanded. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, so inshallah I'll get started. We'll see how far we make it. So here he says در بیان آن که جنگ با دشمن باطن که اعدا عدوک التي بین جنبیک سخت‌تر است از حرب با دشمن ظاهر. So it's saying the topic is about how the war against the inner enemy, and then he cites the hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which says "A'da aduwuk nafsaka allati bayna jambayk," means the greatest enemy that you have is your own nafs, which is between you. و این سخت‌تر است از حرب با دشمن ظاهر, and this is much more difficult than fighting or having war against the external enemy. چه دشمن صورت را زود مقهور میتوان ساخت. And the reason for that is because one can rather quickly defeat the external enemy. و در معنی این دشمن به کلی مقهور نگردد مگر به مددکاری لشکر عنایت حضرت باری که بنده را دریابد. However, this internal enemy cannot be defeated except without the help of Allah, and unless Allah helps his slave. و ما که بنده را دریابد که و ما یعلم جنود ربک الا هو. And so I guess this is I guess it's an ayah of the Quran, I'm not sure. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودُ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا
has to be, because otherwise it doesn't fit with this conversation.
Yes, it is an ayah of the Quran that is this.
Okay. right? Which means and the junud, the army of your Lord is not known to anybody except him. So this internal enemy can only be defeated with the help of God. Kama qala quddisa sirru. So as Mawlana Rumi says, ای شهان کشتیم ما خصم برون، مان زو خصم بدتر در اندرون. کشتن این کار عقل و هوش نیست، شیر باطن صخره خرگوش نیست. So here, ای شهان means, O kings. I believe it's referring to, kings of the path of tariqah.
Right.
Kushtim ma khasm burun. We have defeated, or we have killed the external enemy. But within us, manzu khasm battar darandarun. But within us, a worse enemy than he has remained.
Wait, one second here.
Sure.
Khasm is enemy in Persian, but
Mhm.
we have two meanings of khasm in Urdu.
Mhm.
One literal meaning is husband.
Oh,
Yeah, and the other meaning is master. Okay, so it's interesting that I never paid attention to this before
interesting.
because it was never put it in that context. But this is interesting. So master is the more common meaning that we use.
Interesting.
And in Punjabi, it's literally husband, but in Urdu and usage, it's usually the master. So this is just for clarification because I still do not know how did khasm, which is an enemy, become a master or a husband in Urdu. I have to look at that.
Oh, very interesting.
Brother Tai, can you expand on this somehow? Do you know the word?
No, I don't. But we just said it. That's what I heard in
Yeah.
back home, and I think sometime it's used in a and I think it's time whereby you're not in a polite way, but when you say when you talk to your husband, so that's
The real
Yeah.
tough.
tough.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So in the Quran,
Yes.
so khasmani yahtasima,
Okay.
right? The two it's used as a disputant. So two
I see.
people, in the story of Dawood alayhi salam, when two people appear to him in disputing one another, they're called khasmani. So they're
animal animosity to each other. Not they must
Animosity.
they're in dispute. Yeah, two people in dispute.
Dispute.
Yeah, basically same concept. Okay. Okay, brother Mahdi, good.
Sure. کشتن این کار عقل و هوش نیست. شیر باطن صخره خرگوش نیست. It means to kill this enemy is not something, it's not the work of reason or intellect.
Or logic.
Or logic, yes.
When you put akal or hosh both, then it becomes logic.
Ah, okay. شیر باطن صخره خرگوش نیست. It means this internal lion cannot be defeated by a rabbit. دوزخ است این نفس، دوزخ اژدهاست، کو به دریاها نگردد کم و کاست. 7 دریا را در آشامد هنوز، کم نگردد سوزش آن خلق سوز.
Oh my God.
So here Maulana Rumi says, دوزخ است این nafs, means this nafs is the hellfire. The دوزخ اژدهاست. the health. So there's two ways to read this. Duzach hast in nafs, duzach ejdahast. So this nafs is the hellfire of dragons, filled with dragons. But over here, he translated as, and hell is a dragon. So Allah knows best.
Yeah, but if you stick to the words, you don't have to say fire. You say those are khasti nafs. This nafs is a hell, and those are khajdahas. And in that hell, the dragon, you could call that fire now, is this nafs. In other words, this nafs is the dragon of the hellfire of the within the hell. It's as scary as you can get.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
Mm.
Ku be darya nagardad kam o kast. It means the fire of which is cannot be lit out with water, or taken out with oceans of water.
Right.
Haft darya ra darash amad hanuz. It means even with 7 oceans, the fire of the nafs will not be eliminated. Kam nagardad suzish an khalq suz. Means as I said, it's fire which burns khalq, which burns men, will not be diminished even if it sucks up 7 oceans.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So accurate too, when you think about it.
Yeah.
سنگها و کافران سنگدل اندر آیند اندر و زار و خجل هم نگردد ساکن از چندین غذا تا ز حق آید مر او را این ندا. So سنگها و کافران سنگدل means stones and disbelievers whose heart is who have hearts made of stone. Right?
Some stone-hearted disbelievers.
Stone-hearted disbelievers, yes, and I guess always as we clarify, kafir is somebody who covers the truth, right? So it can be not necessarily. It's not everybody who's not a Muslim, right? Does not fall under this description. It's people who cover the truth. Andaro zaro khajil means they enter it miserable, and khajil means they have shame on their face. Ham nagardad sakin as chandin gaza. So it means even with so many different types of food, it still will not get appeased. Right? This nafs will not get appeased even with so many different types of food. Ta zahaq ayad mar'ura innada. Unless this call comes to it from God. So let's see what that call is. سیرگشتی سیر گوید نی هنوز اینت آتش اینت تابش اینت سوز عالمی را لقمه کرد و در کشید معده اش نعر زنان حلم مزید. So سیرگشتی سیر means are you filled, right? Have you become filled up? Guyad ney hanuz. And the nafs replies in return, no, not yet. Inat atish, inat tabish, inat suz means this is the fire, this is the kindling, and inat suz, this is the burning. So this is actually an indirect reference to the verse of the Quran, where in Surah Al-Qaf, where 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 Allah asks the hellfire, Halim tala'ati, right? Are you filled yet? وَتَقُولُ هَلْ مِن مَزِيدٍ, and in reply, the hellfire replies, is there still more? With this connection is really interesting. Maybe we can discuss this after we finish the couplets. عالمی را لقمه کرد و در کشید means that it takes, it basically swallowed the whole world, right? It takes the whole world as a mouthful and essentially swallows it.
Yeah.
Dash means its stomach. Na'arzanan, its stomach replies out. Halmim, it replies out shouting. Halmim mazid means, is there more? Is there any more? Right, and that's the reference to the verse from the Quran in Surah Al-Qaf.
Yep.
So this comparison between the nafs and the hellfire is really an interesting one that I think we should discuss further. Haq qadam bar vay nahad az la makan, an ke oo saken shavad az kun fakan. So it means haq, the truth, or is another word. It's one of Allah's names, right? Al-Haq, and Mawlana Rumi often uses this as in place of the word God.
Yes.
So God, Qadam bar vay nahad az la makan. So God places upon it a foot, right? As la makan, but not like a material, as from the world of la makan, right? The place of no place, right? When it's God's foot is it's not a foot, right? It's an analogy, right? But God, he does this. Anke u sa ken shavad as kun. So God placing his foot on it causes this fire to become pacified from the blazing fire that it was. Unfakan means like sort of an explosion, like wild explosion.
No, Mahdi bhai, this may mean something else. Kun means in the order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yeah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell it to stop and it'll stop.
That's
Amre Rabbi. So if he says kun faka means the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say be and it becomes. So that's the reference to it. The same way la makan is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abode. Is space that is vacuum, and that's where his nur is supposed to reside. In poetry, these are the two terms used, basically, not necessarily with a literal meaning, but as entities. La makan is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resides, and kun fakan. Kun is what he says, fakan is what it becomes. Kun fakan means amre rabbi. So because with the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it stops.
So that's true, right? Which in the Quran it says kun fayakun, right?
Yes.
That's true. So one thing in Farsi, an expression we have, which made I guess I'm curious to know where it comes from. Whenever something like just totally goes out of control, people say kun fayakun shod.
But that's it. That's Amra Rabbi. That's what they mean. Whatever Allah wishes, it gets done. That's it. They don't understand it. So that further strengthens the literal meaning that poets use for these two terms. Yes. Yes, that means I don't understand. Only Allah knows best. Good.
چون که چون چون که جزو دوزخ است این نفس ما طبع کل دارد همیشه جزها.
Wow.
So, yeah.
This is beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. So because our nafs is part of the hellfire, طبع کل دارد همیشه جزها means the parts are always a function of the whole.
Oh, right.
Right?
As the nature of the whole. Tabe is nature.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay. So yeah. I like that better. Taba, yeah.
yeah, it has that nature of its whole.
As the nature
Because
of
this is a part of that dozakh. Wow. Nafs is really calling it hellfire right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
این قدم حق را بود کو را کشد غیر حق خود که کمان او کشد که کمان او it should be کشد or کشد if the other one so این قدم حق را بود کو را کشد غیر حق خود که کمان او کشد. So it means it's only this power or this, this foot, right, to kill it is something that only belongs to God. غیر حق که کمان او کشد. So except for God,
Who can have a bow like that? Arrow. Yeah.
Right. Who has the capability to
Do this? Yeah.
Yeah. قد رجعنا من جهاد الأصغریم این زمان اندر جهاد اکبریم. So this is a reference to the hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he says قد رجعنا من جهاد الأصغر. We have returned from the lesser jihad, right?
Yes.
The lesser struggle, and now we have to face the greater jihad al-akbar. So Mawlana Rumi does this so beautifully. He blends Arabic and Farsi together. So this first part of the couplet's in Arabic, and then he switches to Farsi. قد رجعنا من جهاد الأصغر. It means we are قد رجعنا من جهاد الأصغر. Right? We are indeed returning from the jihad al-asghar, the lesser jihad. Now in zaman andar jihad akbarim, and now is the time for the greater jihad, the greater struggle.
Yeah.
قوت از حق خواهیم و توفیق و لاف تا بسوزن برکنم این کوه قاف. So now it's a prayer. He's saying, I ask for strength from the Lord, and the tawfiq Allah. It means the success from him, and also a solution from him, so that Suzan Barkanamin Kuheraf, so that with a needle I can completely take out this mountain of Qaf. Kuheraf means it's a mountain of Qaf. So I actually looked this up in more detail. So Kuheraf, in Persian tradition, it's referred to as like the highest mountain. I don't know if it's like a real place. It's just like sort of in tradition. In Arabic tradition, it's like a it was referred to as like a mysterious mountain, which was like the furthest point of Earth. In Sufi tradition, it's considered as a realm of consciousness, and it's one of the goals of the murid to reach this mountain of God. So it's interesting.
We use this proverb a lot. When you have insurmountable difficulty, then you call it. We don't say kuh. We will call it koh. Koh kaf means the highest of the highest mountains.
Mhm.
almost insurmountable. It's beyond Mount Everest, it seems.
Right.
We have surmounted Mount Everest, but Kukaf you can't.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. That's your naps, right? Only
Yeah.
Sah.
By the way, Tawfiq is the ability given to us to do something.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't have that capability, then it's something that is not easy for you to do, or you can't even if you try, you just can't overtake it.
Right.
Tawfiq is what you need. Yes.
And you can only get that from Allah.
Allah. It's a given thing. It's not something you earn.
That's right.
It's a grant,
Right.
not a privilege.
سهل شیری دان که صفها بشکند شیر آن را دان که خود را بشکند. So it means it's سهل شیری دان که صفها بشکند. So it means to the lion that breaks the ranks of the enemies, that's an easy line. Consider that easy, or that has little value. The true lion, Shir Anradan, right? The true brave lion, that is the one who can break and conquer himself. So alhamdulillah. So this concludes the second river. So maybe now is a good time to open up to discussion and
Yes.
from everybody.
So we have covered several topics in this. We have been given the warning that your nafs is the very strong and forceful enemy within you, number one. And you have to realize the potential, how much damage it can cause to you, number one. Number two, the way to counter it or combat it or fight it is to ask for tawfiq from the divine, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because even seven oceans water cannot really extinguish its fire. So, and this is much beyond your intelligence and logic. So don't use those weapons to counter it. You have to have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the topics that can take lectures and lectures. So now we can open up and discuss these, our understanding of all of this. Brother Tahir?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Yeah, I think what we are trying to reflect on this is where it emanates from. Obviously so we can see arrogance, we can see greed, things which we live in this world are pushing us towards that fire. What is that? What exactly is what's triggering us to pushing us to the fire? So we have to find in ourselves and where we are lost within ourselves. And then we start to identify, it's more of a prognosis that, okay, fine, and this is what is happening to me, but what is that which is triggering it? And then we look for this symptom, which means, I think, greed, this arrogance. And that's the thing which keep us pushing us towards that direction. And I think it was interesting to see the connection of the hellfire with the nafs. And that's true. It is really, the more you think of it, it is really a burning fire within you. If you can get out of this, these diseases of your heart, and only you know it. Everybody has very unique in situation when you encounter in this world, whether it's your work environment, your family, in any place, and you see how you react to different situations, and the way you react is something within you, and unless you fix that, that's the tawfiq of Allah. And I think the best thing, as I say, is not the reason intelligence that you can just try to find a solution for this. No, it's only with the tawfiq of Allah. But you have to be cautious of this, that you have this. So we go back to, the many, as you know, all, mashallah, we look for disease of the heart. And when we pay attention to those and we start to internalize and see and we identify our own self. And if not, then you could see the signs of it is you're really going to direction. Nothing can extinguish that fire. And may Allah protect us all. But I think this is interesting to see the hellfire, and the nafs is part of the hellfire, and how this connection is very interesting. What has been read, but I think it has to be translated into the item which we see that yes, this fire, but yes, how can I avoid it, and how can Allah protect us from this, and how do I do that, both with the tawfiq of Allah, with du'as, and some action items.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Barakallah.
Yes.
The other thing is that, how significant this is, or how serious this is, that the lion can go through enemy lines, and that is something very small.
Mm-hmm.
And the thirst of this is so big that 7 oceans cannot quench this thirst.
Mm-hmm.
And the putting in all the world will not satisfy the hunger of this. So that's why it is the bigger jihad that it is called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. Very nice.
Yes.
Amir, are you there?
Yes, the mashallah is beautiful. And I think this, I agree with the comments, or Brother Mahdi, how you were struck with the parallel between the nafs and Jahannam. I never had seen that before, but the insatiability of it. And one thing that the mountain and the needle, I thought I find that very deep, because he's not saying that he wants some kind of massive strength or some great power or some to be expanded in size to overcome the mountain, but rather this tawfiq and the needle, right? So I'm gathering what the needle means is that by basically only by Allah's grace can he overcome this mountain. It's not by doing anything to himself, but rather it's God's grace.
No, but he's comparing, beta. He's comparing Kohkaf to your effort as needle. In other words, we are nothing.
Right.
Your effort and your intellect is like a needle in press, which is the smallest of the small things that you can hold, compared to the largest of the things that exist. In other words, you are nothing against this enemy. This enemy is too big for you. Needle is not here to sow anything or whatever.
Right.
It's a comparison with Kohkaf. The largest thing that exists versus the smallest thing that you can have. Needle has been used many times that you can pass a camel through the eye of a needle, but you can't. This is in the Quran also.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say it's impossible, that's what you say. Needle versus a mountain.
Yeah.
You have to be poets to understand these things. Sorry about that.
That's beautiful, though, that our deeds are really a needle.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
That's what we have to do. We have to keep that in perspective.
Exactly.
Deeds are insignificant.
Yes.
Not get arrogant about them.
You know what? I don't know. Let me just wait until other comments come in, then I'll make another one. Does anybody else have to expand on any of this?
So one thing that I was that I always think that this kind of made me think about is we're talking about like jihad al-asghar, right?
Mm-hmm.
war against the external enemy. But that's not always necessarily, going out on the battlefield and fighting. We experience this like every day with our own life. We set goals in life like, oh, okay, I'm going to finish college and then everything's going to be awesome. Or as soon as I get my job, everything's going to be great. Or as soon as I, buy my first house, everything will go, oh, okay, now if I pay my mortgage after 30 years, I'm going to be happy. It's like each one of these milestones you achieve in life, it's like, oh, okay, now what? Your nafs looks your nafs looks for something else that it wants to. Nothing satisfies it, and you just keep on wanting to go deeper and deeper. And I guess that that analogy between the external enemy, it's not necessarily, in fighting, we shouldn't think about it as in just that. I think it's like every milestone we set in life. These are like these are really the smaller jihads. Jihad is subduing the nafs so that you feel satiated and happy, regardless of where you are in life.
Yeah,
that comes
Brother Mehdi, but there is a finer point that you have to include in this particular explanation that you gave. Building a house, buying a car, doing this and that is not necessarily what he's referring to.
You're right. Yeah.
In that process, make sure that you do not do anything improper.
Right.
In other words, when you are going to your job and it's Zohar time, and you are afraid that you may lose your job and you skip Zohar, that is a jihad right there inside you. So although it's an ordinary routine life, it has elements where you have to really go through the process of jihad, to be compliant with your reason of being. So he's basically referring to little idols that come before you in day-to-day life to ask you to worship them. So don't worship those, but continue to worship one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's your jihad.
Yes.
True to your belief. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I add one thing or kind of say it in a different way. It's kind of like you may hear this a lot of times. They say a lot of times governments or countries, they need an external enemy to kind of pacify people internally from the real problems. But then once that external enemy no longer exists anymore, then like all sorts of infighting and conflict begins. And I think that's because that inner jihad with the nafs has not been successfully completed, right? That's why.
Good example. Beautiful.
Jazakallah.
You know what? Something is missing here, Mehdi bhai.
What is? Just tell me, brother.
Well, what is missing is he has said, okay, it comes tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but how do you achieve that tawfiq?
Yes.
What is the process you have to go through? Rumi has missed that. And if he's going away from this topic, then I find that as a major shortcoming. He should have told us how to do it.
Yes.
Oh, here it is. I'm going to tell you. One of his students told us that.
Tell us, brother.
His student is Murid Iqbal, Allama Iqbal, Iqbal Lahori. He mentioned Yaqeen Mohkam, Amal Peham, Muhabbat Fatah Alam, Jahad-e Zindagani mein hai ye Mardu ki Shamsheerein. So he says Yaqeen Mohkam, a very strong faith. Amal Peham, continuous struggle, continuing to do something, ongoing, keep on doing. Muhabbat Fatah Alam, compassion that wins over the world. It should win the world with the universe. That kind of a passion you should have. You should have strong faith, continue to struggle, and be passionate in what you do. Then he says, Jihad-e Zindagani mein, in the jihad of life, in the fight of life, in the struggle of life, And ye mardu ki shamsheer hai. These are the swords, these are the tools that the brave ones use. So he has given as to how to achieve that tawfiq. By believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, struggling in his path, and being passionate about what you do, doing it out of goodness of your heart because you love to do it. And this is the sword that brave ones, believers, the mu'mineen, use in the struggle of life. Although it looks like one line, but it gives you as to what is the way of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how do you achieve that through these three elements. This is a very famous verse that we use in our lectures and stuff in Urdu speaking world. You know, Iqbal used this in a beautiful nazm, in a long one, and it's the whole nazm is worth learning from. गुलामी में ना काम आती है तदबीरें ना तकदीरें जो हो जाओ के यकीन पैदा तो कट जाती है जंजीरें. Then in other words, when you are enslaved and you are not free to do what you want to do, then none of these things work for you. You have to get out of servitude of others and be independent and be free to choose the path for your life. And then in that particular nazm, he says at the end that this is the kind of weapons that you need to fight the struggle in life.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All right.
Jazakallah khair, mashallah, very good. So takeaways, mashallah, a lot of takeaways, alhamdulillah. And also I find that, you know, to see this extreme of the hellfire, and then you see both the tyrants, you know, in our lifetime we have seen in our, you know, tyrants which have literally tortured and buried people alive. We, you know, and even in today's world, we see that the extreme tyranny of individuals and you know, tribes and nations who continue to do this.
Yeah.
And when you see this, and just really, and they're not yet filled. They keep on doing it to the extent that and we have all witnessed this thing, and that shows you the, you know, when you see a reference to what we are reading, you know, and it's just unbelievable. And a human being can become that kind of a monster. You know, a tribe, a nation can become a monster where you have no, people are live, buried in mass in graves. You know, in today's, you know, so to speak, a civilized world. So I mean, we just have to pay attention to the events around us, and we can see all these two sides of it. People who are doing jihad and khair with tawfiq of Allah, they are building things, and the people who are destroying it in front of us.
Yeah.
So,
and Tahir Bhai, the only difference is that now they wear suit and tie, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
When we looked at Genghis Khan, he looked like a, you know, very bad dude. He looked like, you know, somebody who's gonna, you know, do something bad. But these days, you know, these are those shayateen. They wear suit and ties and they talk about bringing peace, you know.
Human rights.
Human rights, La hawla wa la quwwata. Ya Rab.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. So it's I guess 7:30 right now. Shall we conclude with a dua?
I think so. Again, thank you, Brother Mahdi. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Inshallah. And also, mashallah, mabrooq, the month of Shaban is starting, inshallah. So, mashallah, it's a good ending and a good beginning, inshallah. We're getting closer to Ramadan. So, Dr. Saab, please, if you can bless us with your dua, inshallah.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we struggle, we strive in your path to learn and to live our lives by the dictates that we have in the message that you have given the humanity. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us the vision, capability, and the understanding to truly live out your message. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are always mindful of what we will leave behind us. Make it so that we leave what we have learned from your message and pass it on, and with this message of Islam that we have as a custody within us, that we are able to deliver it on to the future generation. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are always mindful of our own future generations and see how adherents of Islam will they be. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make them able to live by your message and deliver it to the rest of the humanity. Oh Allah, we have all the distractions around us that take us away from the straight path. With your intervention and with your mercy and grace, we want that we stay on the good path, on the straight path, and be protected from all evil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we seek all these things in your name and for the love of your prophet. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين.
Jazakallah khair, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Thank you.
barakatuh. May Allah
Assalamu
reward you
alaikum.
all.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.
alaikum.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair.
Walaikum
Assalamu
salam.
alaikum, everybody.
Until we meet again next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Allah,
Assalamu alaikum.
inshallah. Inshallah. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.